usually if people feel unsafe, they use that word, right? They say, oh, I feel unsafe because of comments. You know, I feel unsafe because somebody said they voted for Donald Trump in the classroom. I feel unsafe. And that is an immediate veto card over everything else that comes after it. That is, everyone cater to that person's needs. Now we're talking about a 17-year-old girl who's naked in the presence of a full-grown man who is naked. And her feeling unsafe brings the left out to complain that she needs to just deal with it. That's too bad, little 17-year-old girl. This guy gets to change there. Comments went viral over the weekend from a 17-year-old named Rebecca Phillips. She said she was changing one day last month at the YMCA in the San Diego area. And while she was changing after swimming laps, Rebecca, saw a transgender female named Christine Wood. By the way, just reading the story is difficult because of the usage of the term she throughout for both individuals when one of the she's is not a she. That's not a minor detail. We'll discuss this in a moment. But here we have some sense. So this went viral, and there were protests at the YMCA over the weekend over this issue. And I just wanted to, Clay, I watched some of this young girl, 17. She starts crying. She talks about how she brings her 5-year-old sister to that same locker room and that same YMCA to change, to use the water slide in the pool in the summer. There was a claim made. Then there's contention over this particular claim, but it makes a difference, obviously, to the story, because the woman here, the 17-year-old girl, said that she saw Christine Wood, the transgender individual's male genitalia, hence the knowing that this is a man changing in the woman's locker room. The transgender woman, Christine Wood, says that's not possible because of transgender surgery. Now, I don't think this claim has been adjudicated one way or the other yet as to what is true. But just note, I found this really interesting. A lot of media firestorm about this over the weekend. And here's how the media talks about this issue. I guess this is a local San Diego broadcaster who is discussing this one. And play clip 9.
I feel like a big part of the story that's either been a misconception or people are just forgetting about is that Wood has fully transitioned into a woman and was in the woman's bathroom.
Yeah, that's right, Wale. In fact, she says she is a woman, and she really wants to drive home the fact that she transitioned over 5 years ago, and that she is a woman, and she says she's a woman. Period. And that's where it ends.
Absolutely.
No, actually, that's not where it ends.
Yeah, we need to play the 17-year-old girl at some point, maybe even tomorrow.
Good evening, council members and residents of Santee behind me. My name is Rebecca Phillips, and I'm 17 years old. I am not a resident of Santee, but I am employed at a local restaurant, the Omelet Factory, and I work out regularly at the Santee YMCA. Just 2 weeks ago, after finishing my shift at my job, I went to the gym to swim laps. As I was showering after my workout, I saw a naked male in the women's locker room. I immediately went back into the shower, terrified, and hid behind their flimsy excuse for a curtain until he was gone. I ran into a bathroom stall to change as quickly as I could, organizing my thoughts to share with the people at the front desk. As I did so, I could only think of my 5-year-old sister, who I bring to this gym during the summer to enjoy their water slides. This is the YMCA, where hundreds of children spend their summer afternoons in child care camps. This is the YMCA where my little sister took gymnastics lessons. The locker room was supposed to be her safe haven to gossip with her friends and shower and change. When I asked the YMCA management what their policy was regarding transgenders, they confirmed that the man that I saw was indeed allowed to shower wherever he pleased. As long as you are not a red flag on Megan's Law, the California Sex Offender Registry, A grown male can shower alongside a teenage girl at your YMCA location here in Santee. I was made to feel as though I had done something wrong when I talked to people at the YMCA. Somehow, the indecent exposure of a male to a female minor was an inconvenience to them. When my dad spoke to the sheriff's office, they told him that he should never allow me to shower there ever again. The YMCA wouldn't let my father speak to the manager of the Santee branch. After waiting several days, he finally received a call from Terry Moss, who is the director of membership for San Diego County. She informed my dad that I was not in any danger at the time of the incident, that I was safe. But I ask you this. I'm assuming all of you either have a wife, a sister, daughters, or granddaughters, or are a woman yourself. Could you knowingly send an underage girl into a room where there was a naked male and say that she was not in danger, that she was safe, or more importantly, that this was right? The fact that we are now tailoring our privacy policies and bathroom laws around transgenders, ignoring the blatant threat to safety that this poses, is obscene. The safety of children, girls, is on the chopping block. And this issue is not unique to one political party. Both Democrats and Republicans whom I have shared this story with have all been equally disgusted. So I implore you all to take action. With great privilege comes great responsibility. Whether it's requiring transgenders to use the single-stall family restrooms or making them use the bathroom which aligns with their biological
Thank you. Thank you.
Because I think people will hear it and hear in her voice that, in her opinion, she was seeing a man. And for anybody out there, this is crazy, right? The idea that has been put into circulation in this country is if you identify as a woman, you are, in fact, a woman. That just isn't true. It's not factually true. It's not biologically true. And I don't know what this person looks like, but do you think that a 17-year-old girl is just going to make up that she saw what she believes is male genitalia in the locker room? Like, that seems crazy to me, to think that she would be doing that.
This individual is visibly a man. There are photos. It's visibly a man. There are some effort to, I think there's been, breast augmentation surgery or something like that. But you look at this person, you go, well, that's a transgender individual. There's not a surprise. I mean, there are photos all over the New York Post and other sites you can see. So this 17-year-old girl, she sees a man in the woman's locker room, is made to feel. Isn't it interesting? If people feel unsafe, they use that word, right? They say, "Oh, I feel unsafe because of comments." I feel unsafe because somebody said they voted for Donald Trump in the classroom. I feel unsafe, and that is an immediate veto card over everything else that comes after it. That is, everyone cater to that person's needs. Now we're talking about a 17-year-old girl who's naked in the presence of a full-grown man who is naked, and her feeling unsafe brings the left out to complain that she needs to just deal with it. That's too bad, little 17-year-old girl. This guy gets to change there.
And that her reality as a minor female in a locker room, which is supported by factual truth, is not acceptable. She has to lie about what she's experiencing and what she sees. And of all people that you would want to listen to, you would think a teenage girl would be at the top, at the peak of the list of people that you would have to respect here.
And I totally agree. I mean, you would think that a young woman in this circumstance, that if there's there's a close call here, which this is not a close call in my opinion, but if there were a close call about the rights involved or the need to feel safe, that the young girl and not the 40-something-year-old trans female individual would be getting priority. But the left has an agenda, and the false eradication of gender, and more importantly, the forced affirmation of lies is central to this. This is what they do. And I'll be honest with you, even conservative media outlets, I disagree. They do, she, Christine Wood, she everywhere. That is not about being polite. That is when you're talking about gender, you've taken a side on the issue immediately by referring to a trans female as she, because of course then in people's minds, they think to themselves, well, it's a she, so it is a woman, right? So then what's her problem? It's not a woman. That's the problem.
Yeah, and I also think it raises the question further. If you look at the picture, photo, face of this person, you would say this is a man, right? Physical male characteristics. What's to stop someone, and I mean this honestly, what's to stop someone from totally being a biological male and just saying, I identify as a woman, so I'm deciding to use this locker room? Like, what is the YMCA status and determination?
Can I also point out that the fight over whether there is still an existence of male genitalia in this case, and that is at issue in this discussion, does Christine Wood still have a penis? That's the allegation here. And there's a back and forth because, that's a pretty clear indicator of gender for most of us. But, I know we'll get someone who says, what about intersex people? Christine Wood is not intersex. Clay, this continues to play out in a way where you're not allowed to view and not allowed to discuss objective reality. And that I think is a tip-off in and of itself, when you can't actually even say, hold on a second, what are we really dealing with here? What is the situation as it unfolds before us? And it's troubling that there are so many people who come forward and not only want to be a party to this lie, but are really nasty. I mean, the people who come out in favor of a woman, it's a woman, and all this other stuff. And let me also note, I think this is important, that if Christine Wood, you can change your name, that's fine. We all agree with that. So the name is the name, that's fine. If Christine Wood did still have male genitalia, but had claimed an authentic transition and was planning to have it removed, do you think the trans agenda supporters would say, well, in that case, you got to wait till it's absolutely not? So even if there was male genitalia in the situation, they would still insist that the 17-year-old girl has to change and not have any problem with this whatsoever. Do you see what I'm saying? They act like, oh, but there's this detail, we're fighting over this detail. They wouldn't change if the detail changed.
Not only that, I think also just basic decency. Most people try to make other people comfortable in a locker room setting. Wouldn't you agree with that? Like, whatever, you're not trying to make someone feel threatened by and large in either a men's or a women's locker room. It's already an uncomfortable place because sometimes there's nudity involved. This feels like an intentional provocation in some ways. Like, if you truly have some genitals that would suggest you might be not female, why do you have to get naked in the locker room? Right? Like, I mean, a lot of people work out in gyms without feeling the need to get fully nude in a locker room. You know what I'm talking about? Like, most people don't take a shower in the locker room, I don't think. So it feels like a provocation in some way from this individual to try. And again, if you hear this girl's voice and hear her explaining what's going on, I think it's going to be really difficult for you to feel like, oh, she's in the wrong in some way in the way that she is behaving. It's just not possible, in my opinion, based on hearing this story. But this is something, and you might be out there listening like, oh, well, this is a isolated circumstance. That's what they always say about these stories. And increasingly, it's happening in your state. It's happening in your school district. It's happening in your neighborhood, where everybody is forced to come face to face with this factual untruth that is making especially young women uncomfortable.
One of the constant underhanded techniques of power that is used by the left is to push things that are outrageous and extreme, and to do so systematically. But every time it comes up, say, oh, why are you making such a big deal of this? As if we're always supposed to say, oh, you're right. Okay, so we'll just let it go. We'll let it go. We keep doing it. Because the same logic applies to them. Why are they making such a big deal over this? If it's so rare, if it's not really the issue that, we should be the other one, why are you so focused on this? Because the left is so, they just get caught and then they just want their way.